to the Director Share podcast, where we talk about movies, TV, and a little bit beyond. I'm Moose, and this is Jerod, and I just want to jump right into it just because I want to talk about Game of Thrones.
Episode 6.
Episode 6, the final episode.
All right. What are your thoughts on the finale?
It was very, very anticlimactic, but it was still very good. That's my take on the finale.
Honestly, people were wanted like an action pack. My dad said himself. He was like, "I want a kill count." It's like, dude.
Ironically, only one person died. Okay, so
3?
Hush. Spoilers for the final episode of Game of Thrones. The final episode. There aren't gonna be any more made. I'm not gonna feel bad about spoiling Game of Thrones in like a week. So, you've been warned, there's a spoiler warning on this video. Daenerys dying.
Honestly, the way the camera was angled and the way they both reacted, I thought Dany stabbed Jon at first.
That would have been really cool.
That was completely different.
Both of their faces were in complete and utter shock. And I was just like, did Dany kill Jon? Like, I did, because the thing is that, you know, as much as I wanted to feel like that they were truly in love, Jon only has one love, and that was Ygritte. And he had his chance at love, and he blew it. He's not gonna live life to the fullest.
Well, I mean, he became a free folk and then.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's always been a free folk since the beginning.
He's technically Night's Watch, but he went with the free folk. I don't think that what's the word? I don't think that means that he's a free folk just because they went with them. I think that he's just a Night's Watch who's like, we're gonna protect the realm, and then the free folk are just helping him. He's not a free folk. He's still Night's Watch. He legally, by Bran's new law, he has to be Night's Watch. Literally the only person on the Night's Watch now. He's literally the only person on the Night's Watch. Everybody else is dead. Who's left? There's nobody left on the... Yep. Did you see that Castle Black? There's nobody.
Except for the wildlings, yeah.
Except for the wildlings, the free folk.
Well, what about those 2 guys escorting him?
Those people weren't fucking Night's Watch. They were fucking people making sure he made it there.
True. Yeah.
You said that 3 people died? Who else died in last night's episode?
The 2 Lannister guys at the beginning.
You're a fucking cock.
They did die, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Look, I'm happy with how it ended. I think it's a little anticlimactic that Bran became king, but it makes the most sense. If we're using the logic that Tyrion used, which was a great story can rule them all, basically, then Bran is definitely the person to do that. I think that I
don't think Bran had the best story, though.
I think Bran had the best... Because, I mean, you need to think of it this way. I feel like all of the other stories were very generic, if that makes any sense. Not in the fact of how they were, like, set up, how they were written and stuff like that, but it kind of follows kind of like the cookie cutter kind of stuff that you kind of expect from, like, oh yeah, a hero and like stuff like that. And it's like, oh yeah, Jon is the hero and he's the chosen one and all sort of stuff like that. And he's going to lead the people to murder the Night King and all sort of stuff like that. And he ends up leading the people and he ends up defeating the Long Night. And he does all that sort of stuff. And Daenerys becomes the villain. Obviously, she wasn't going to be the queen of the 7 kingdoms. Obviously, the North was going to become an independent kingdom. That did not surprise me. Like, all this sort of... It didn't surprise me, everything that happened. Yeah. Everything was kind of cookie cutter. Everything kind of made sense for me. The only things that weren't cookie cutter were season 3, and that's because everybody in season 3 died.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, and I was not expecting Bran to be king at all. Like, when Tyrion was like, Bran, I was like, the fucking cripple?
Yo, I'm gonna tell you something. I was reading like statistics because apparently people have been betting in Las Vegas about like who's gonna be on the Iron Throne, and people have been betting a lot of money, and a lot of people were betting on Bran.
A lot of people were
A
betting.
lot of people were betting on Bran because they know how like these kinds of like bets work and these kinds of like things work. And I'm like, you know what? That makes the most sense. Have Bran become the king of the now 6 kingdoms. It doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah, 6 doesn't sound like
I love the fact that he's called Bran the Broken.
Who's their king? Bran the Broken? Why is he broken? Incest relationship got him kicked out of a tower.
He's not broken because of an incest relationship. He's broken because somebody pushed him. Literally, somebody pushed him. Was the flying metaphorical? Like when they say, "I'm gonna teach you how to fly," was it metaphorical or was it like, "I'm gonna teach you how to warg even better"? Because I was really expecting like floating Bran by season 7.
Bran's just levitating. He's like, "You mortals."
He literally just looks like Magneto. It's like, "Hey, how's it going? I'm Bran."
No, they're talking about the crows and the ravens.
I'm the 3-eyed raven.
I'm the 3-eyed raven.
I'm the
He like
3-eyed
puts
raven.
his hand out and everyone like collapsed, insta dead.
Yeah.
They insta die. I am the 3-eyed raven.
My friend just tagged me in something that I hate. I'm sorry to interrupt the podcast for that, but my friend just tagged me in something that I don't like. Anyways,
I don't want to know.
no, it's like the theater stuff. But I mean, for Game of Thrones, I loved how it ended. Am I disappointed? Yes, but I still loved how it ended. Like for any possible outcome for how for the direction of the show that it was going,
I feel like this is the best one.
It's the perfect end. I don't think there could have been a better ending. I think that there are so many kind of open-ended, kind of loose strings of like, these are kind of stories that, you know, if we want to, we can continue a story later on in the future. Maybe follow Jon doing, being literally the only person in the Night's Watch. Or maybe like follow Arya Stark going west of Westeros. What's west of Westeros?
That could be a whole new series.
Yeah. I feel like she's gonna be like Christopher Columbus or whatever.
She's gonna
Where she's just gonna hit Bravos. She's just gonna sail west and then hit Bravos. It's like, God damn it.
Oh, this is a new place. Wait, I recognize that statue. Fuck.
Well, this is a real new. How did they copy the Bravo statue?
Everything looks the same. That's the no-name god. What's that? I don't get it.
A girl who has no name has returned.
How
The
was
House
your
of Black
travels?
and White, dude. Dude, if they brought back the House of Black and White for a show specifically centered around them, that'd be so cool. That'd be so cool.
That'd be that's a really cool.
I just need a show dedicated to Arya.
A show dedicated to Arya.
Yeah.
Honestly, she I feel like had it's either her or Jamie who had the best story in my opinion. Like the best journey.
I think the person who had the best journey was probably Tyrion. And that's just me saying, let me finish before you start going, yeah. Sound like a fucking dying Chewbacca. But I mean, I think Tyrion had the best kind of arc because he started off as a person who didn't really give a shit about anything. And that's how I perceived Tyrion at the beginning of the series. And then once he got into season 2, he started kind of giving a shit a little bit more. He was basically running the Seven Kingdoms because fucking Joffrey was just kind of being a little bit of a fucking brat the entire time.
Yeah.
Season 3, he was basically fucking demoted and was basically just kind of like doing his own thing. And I mean, I forgot Tyrion's arc in season 3, but
I think it really went down after the Red Wedding happened, and what Tyrion said to Joffrey. He's like, all of a sudden, kings are dying.
Oh,
like
yeah,
flies.
yeah.
As soon as that happened, oh,
he was the master of coin, right? He became the master of coin. Yeah, he became the master of coin in season 3. Then season 4, he became a murderer.
murderer. He didn't,
Murderer.
He didn't do it, but
Look, I miss Shay. I miss the women that made our men good. I miss Rob and his wife.
his wife is the reason why he's dead.
I know, but that doesn't justify it.
Yeah, I was about to make the motion of the the stabbing in the stomach. God, dude, I remember
Robb being happy should not have caused a death. The death of all the Starks.
Most of them. The Starks ended up with the most power then, because one of them owns the North and the other one owns
the North
16.
the North is an independent realm now. It's
yeah,
not
one
like,
of them owns it.
But it's but the Starks can still be dethroned now that they're their own independent kingdom.
Yeah,
they can do whatever they want, and I liked the fact that they basically said like. Before I say anything else, Sam trying to suggest democracy was fucking adorable. Like, really? After all this shit, you think that these people deserve democracy?
Honestly, I heard that and I looked at my dad and I was like, there's no fucking way they're ending Game of Thrones
with a
vote of Sam saying, hey, democracy. Well, actually, they kind of did. It's more of like a representative because after Bran dies, they're gonna choose a new one.
Because the lords are gonna pick. Sam was suggesting the population pick.
Yeah.
The lords picking is basically being like, oh yeah, you're our new commander. But it's like the general saying that you're our new commander. Like he's picking or something like that. I don't know. That was a bad example. But
well, it's better than having the son or daughter being the king or queen because you don't know if they're going to be the right one.
I'm going to cut this right here. Just cut this really quick. Like, I actually do want you to cut this, not like what you usually do where you don't cut.
I have been cutting it.
No, there are certain things where in the audio you just haven't been cutting it. Like, I listened to the Spotify version and I go like, you can cut this. Did you turn the recording light on? And you don't cut that out.
That was only in the first episode. The other time.
But that's in the second episode and the third episode too. I was listening to the third episode.
I cut it out.
No, you didn't. Anyways, at 8:40, start talking about my thing because I gave you 30 minutes for hiding in the light. So I'm timing it out in my head. I'm just basically clicking on my phone. Just I when it gets to 8:40, transition into that.
Okay.
Good? Okay. All right, but I mean, what did you say? I forgot. Democracy. Yes.
Yeah. Them trying to put democracy in Game of Thrones. If they ended it like that, I would have been so pissed. I would have been like, seriously, 8 seasons. How many people died?
That's how George R.R. Martin's gonna end the
I like the
books.
homage with the Song of Ice and Fire.
I love that. Yeah, that's my favorite. I'm very happy about that.
What did he say? What did Sam say to Tyrion? He's like, "You're not even mentioned in it."
Yeah, I don't think you're mentioned.
Even though he's like the most pivotal role of it.
That's not true. He's not the most pivotal role.
One of the most.
Jon, Daenerys, all those people are the fucking pivotal roles. Tyrion just so happens to be the hand of the queen, and now the new king.
Yeah, but he's pretty much set up for like Tywin's death. He helped Daenerys. Well, he.
No, but
Daenerys.
I think that the book A Song of Ice and Fire, in the story at least, is meant to be kind of like an homage to the book. I don't think they're trying to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna detail everything that happened in the show. I don't think that was the purpose of the book in the show. I think the purpose of the book in the show, that was a very fast sentence, was to, you know, just kind of be like, this is the story of the War of the Five Kings and the one who ended up becoming king didn't even want it to begin with. Yeah. And then like the story of the bastards of incest and stuff like that. I'm sure Tyrion's mentioned. It would be a little fucked up if he wasn't. Tyrion is literally, yeah, I agree with you. Tyrion's like connected to pretty much every other storyline.
Ever since he pissed off the side of the world. I love that little comment he made to Jon. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna want to piss off the side of the world after 10 years."
He goes, 10 years of being the hand is gonna make you want to piss off the side of the world. And that was my favorite line in the episode. I'm very happy that Bran's king. That's a very weird thing to think about, but I think I don't think they're. Okay, I'm gonna say it right now. Nobody else deserved to be king. Nobody. None of them deserved to be king or queen. Nobody in that entire cast of characters was fit to rule the 7, now 6 kingdoms. Nobody. I'll say that Sansa, she's the right person to rule the North. Right person. I don't think she's always had the North. She's always put the North before everybody else, and I agree with that. However, I think everybody else in terms of like ruling the 7 kingdoms, nobody is the right fit for that. That's like somebody saying like, oh yeah, Daenerys is in the right. Like no, she wasn't. John wouldn't have been a good fit because he doesn't fucking want it. But that doesn't matter, because it's like, think of it this way. When he is a leader, he gets people killed. Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, he gets himself killed. He leads the Long Night. He doesn't even fulfill the prophecy that he thought he was a part of. Arya kills the Night King. He was not the reason why people won. The only reason why he gets credit for the Long Night and winning the Long Night is because he got everybody together, and that's it. He's a good war leader. That's it. That's why I was thinking, he was probably going to be the master of war.
That would be a good spot for him.
But then he ends up going to the fucking Night's Watch, and I'm like, motherfucker, I'm gonna slit your dick down the middle.
I think
Bran, not John.
I think he pretty much belongs there though. Like his story, yeah, he belongs up north at the Wall.
John is part of like a bigger world now. He found out that he was Aegon Targaryen, and have you read the books?
No.
There's another Aegon Targaryen in the world that was the son of Rhaegar, because Rhaegar had a son with his other wife, his other little girl toy, and he named him Aegon Targaryen, because I think that he thought that Lyanna died before she gave birth to Aegon or something like that. I don't know the specifics, but I know that he was fucking 2 bitches at once, which solid. He ends up becoming a really important character. He ends up dyeing his hair blue to hide the fact that he's a Targaryen, all sort of shit like that. He goes into hiding. I think he becomes acquaintances with the new Prince of Dorne and all that sort of stuff like that. And he becomes like a really pivotal role in the books. And I'm like, holy shit, this is really interesting. This is really cool. Why didn't they bring it to the show? I know why they didn't bring it to the show. Because they hate people.
Wait, what about the Dornish queen?
The Dornish queen.
Remember Cersei locked both of them up down there?
Yeah, she's fucking dead.
Well, I know that, but it would have been nice to see it.
Sometimes you don't always need to see things in order to make it happen.
True. I was just waiting for Hodor to come back.
Hodor wasn't going to come back, and I accepted that after the Long Night.
Okay. Well...
Yeah. Overall, I'm happy with how Game of Thrones ended, and I'm definitely going to miss it very much.
Yeah. So, last episode, well, the last time it was just me and you.
Yeah.
We talked about my piece, and now we're going to talk about yours.
Yeah.
So
what you deserve out on www.theritroactivemedia.com. Or if you're on YouTube, like a sane person, you'll go to Retroactive Media on YouTube.
Why do you have to be sane to go on YouTube? Why can't you go on your website? What's wrong with the website?
The website's fine. The website, I prefer my YouTube though, just because it's still linked. Either way, you're gonna be watching the YouTube page, just because all of my videos are just linked to the YouTube.
Wait, so on your website it's linked from your YouTube?
Yeah, on my website it's linked to my YouTube, so all my videos are basically on YouTube, except for my Marchman promotional stuff, just because why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's start off with the idea. What made you start it to begin with? Like, what was in your brain when you were thinking about it?
Well, my brother had cancer, and no.
Well, I did not know this. Okay.
No. spoiler alert for my project, What You Deserve. It's on YouTube right now. It released May 17th. There will be a link in the description below for the YouTube channel version of this. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this on Spotify, iTunes, stuff like that, it's on Retroactive Media, YouTube. It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
What You Deserve, Retroactive Media. I've said it a million times. I'm not going to repeat it. No, but the idea for What You Deserve, it came from really just thinking about, how like families like deal with like loss and deal with like certain emotions. And I know I wanted to have characters that hated each other but at the same time still loved one another, which I think I portrayed decently at least.
No, you're acting with shit, bro.
Yeah, I know.
No, it was much better than mine, at least.
I'm complete garbage. No, I think I did an okay job. But I mean, the whole concept and the whole idea came up when I was thinking about like, just, I really wanted to portray loss and what that does to certain people. And I also wanted to see how certain people, react to, react to certain things and how they would handle certain emotions and how they would handle, somebody walking away. And that's why I wrote it in the way that I did, because I like the whole plot structure of seeing how people handle like certain situations in their lives and when they need to confront that, how they would confront that. So that's how I really came up with the idea. In terms of like story and stuff like that, in terms of trying to really come up with like the details of it, it was very much so I focused on, it's gonna sound really fucked up, but I focused on kind of aspects of my life. There's been instances in my family life where I've kind of rejected people in my family, and I didn't really forgive them for it, and that's something that I kind of hate myself for. And then I incorporated it into the story, and when I think of who Jimmy is as a character, I think of him as like he's kind of like a broken piece of me that I stuck into a script. He's a broken piece of glass that I stuck into a character, and I'm like, do this. Yeah.
And so we have the idea of what, like, pretty much the whole moral of it. What made you decide to use Sam and yourself as the actors in it?
Sam is an amazing actor. I'm not gonna take that away from him. I don't think the performance would have worked if it was anybody else. I think it had to be Sam. I know that sounds like very like narcissistic of me or something like that. I don't know the correct term, but I just remember reading the script and I go, I'm thinking about Sam doing this, and like I was just whenever I
think about Sam all the time.
Yeah. When I was reading the script, I was like thinking about who was playing Jimmy in my head. I wasn't really thinking at the time about who was playing him. There was just an image in my head of a person who's playing Jimmy, and then I actually started focusing on it, and it was Sam. And I was just like, I don't think anybody else could play Jimmy. I think it has to be Sam. Because there's this sort of a level of intensity that Sam can put into his performances that I really enjoy. And it's something that, that's the reason why I put him in the role of Jimmy. And, overall, I think he played it extremely well. There are certain things that it was on my part that I would have changed in terms of like the script and like how certain things are handled. Like I would have like changed the fishing monologue a little bit, try to change it a little bit just to kind of fit like how the story was kind of flowing a little bit more. In terms of Noah, what made me realize that I wanted to play Noah was because I was looking back at all the people that I know from my theater days. I used to be in theater for 3 years in high school. I what's the word? I was thinking about all the actors that I knew. I was thinking about all the actors that I had, and I was thinking about who had the best chemistry with Sam. And I was thinking to myself, like, there need when you're confronting very heavy emotional like feelings and you're trying to match that up with a person who is very intense, you need to have somebody who has the same intensity, or at least somebody who has the chemistry to kind of understand the intensity and try to bring them back down. And I felt like this sounds kind of shitty of me, sounds kind of selfish, but I felt like I could do that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I acted alongside him for again 3 years. It's a long time to act with somebody, and I feel like I kind of understood like the nuances of his acting, and I kind of understood all that. So that's the reason why I casted myself. I'll never act again in one of my own pieces, just because I know me directing, writing, editing, and acting in this piece affected how I completely conceived the character. Because I needed to think of, okay, I need to get this for the shot, and I need to make sure that the shot's good, and I need to make sure that I get this take right, and all sort of stuff like that. And it affected my performance. I don't want to think of like that when I'm thinking as an actor.
You just want to be in the moment and act.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I'm in the moment and make sure that I'm with the character and I'm with my actors and I'm with my co-stars and all that sort of stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about just who could match or at least understand the intensity of Sam's acting, and I understood it, and I felt like that's how I handled it, and that's the reason why I casted myself as Noah. Looking back at it now, if I could redo it, I definitely would. I would try to get a different actor for Noah, but that would have required me to probably pay an actor, because I don't think any of the people that I know would. No offense to anybody that I know who's watching this, by the way. You're not bad actors. It's just Sam's a really intense actor, and I needed somebody who matched his intensity. I would definitely have needed to pay somebody in order to
and that's
work
money we don't have.
Yeah, that's money I don't have the money to spend. But yeah, that's how I dealt with casting, and that's how I thought of that. In terms of Rachel, I knew that I wanted this. I knew that I wanted Maggie to be played by Rachel strictly because I feel like she's very kind-hearted. I feel like she's very unapologetic. You know how the opening phone call scene is just her basically saying, "You expect me to forgive you? You're a piece of shit. Bye." Yeah. And she hung up. That's what I'm thinking about in terms of the unapologeticness. And then in terms of the kindness and all sort of stuff like that for the ending scene where she's trying to convince Noah to get back inside and stuff like that. That was originally a scripted scene, and then it was going to end. And then it was going to end, and it was going to have B-roll of Noah crying in the car and stuff like that. And I ended up not shooting that crying stuff, so I needed to fix that. So I edited it in a way where there was no sound to the dialogue. So it worked. It worked a lot better in my opinion, but
I think the way you originally had it ending, with you looking down the street after he tells you to get out and then you drive away and then it fades to black, I think that would have been a really good closure. I do like the way you ended it this way.
Yeah.
But I feel like him looking back at the house and then driving away, showing that he tried and Jimmy still didn't want him around. He still said, "I hope you feel better and stuff, but I'm not gonna be there for you."
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, I know that. Man, I'm getting emotional just thinking about the story. I mean, I'm thinking of it in the sense of I wanted to give all the characters in the story kind of an aspect of me. Again, it sounds very narcissistic, but I mean, I just put myself into the shoes of the character, and I'm like, how would I react in this situation? Mm-hmm. And I looked at the script, and I was just thinking to myself, I just wouldn't take it. Like, I mean, Noah flipped out on Jimmy, and he goes, I left because of this. I left because I want my kids to have a life of their own, stuff like that. Obviously, he doesn't have kids. He wanted to have kids, but he has cancer now. So that kind of stops him from, doing that.
He could still have kids. Like,
he just won't be alive for them to see 2 months.
Pretty much.
I mean, I just remember thinking of like all the characters and stuff like that, and I just thought, I want to put a piece of myself in all these characters. Jimmy is probably the one that's more heavily influenced on me. Noah is the kind of like kind-hearted, kind of like trying to get people to kind of forgive him, kind of like he understands what he did was wrong or horrendous, as he says at the end of that argument. But I mean, he understands what he did, and he understands the consequences of that, but he wants to try to get his family back, and he wants people to forgive him. He doesn't expect people to forgive him, but he wants people to forgive him. And that's the kind of like thing that I think to myself, all these characters are very personal to me, but it's like, I think of it in the sense of, what's the word? These characters, I didn't want anybody seeming like they were the bad guy. Because It
was me holding in yawn. Sorry.
I'm sorry that I'm boring you.
No, I barely got any sleep last night.
You're fine. I know that when I was, conceiving the idea for the script and all that sort of stuff like that, I was thinking of it in the sense of I wanted it to be very authentic. I wanted it to be real. And I wanted it to be there's no antagonist. They're just protagonists having an argument. I really like the fly on the wall aspect. Where, you're learning everything as you just kind of go through it.
So you're just jumping right in the middle. Yeah.
It's like you don't have any real context of what happens until you really dive deeper into the film and you get to like about the 7-minute mark. You don't really know all the details until up to like that point, I guess. Mm-hmm.
If there was like possibly a scene, I feel like what you could have done a little bit differently is actually show the father somehow.
Yeah. I mean, I remember thinking of it in the sense of, having the dad as the sort of entity that they both kind of shared, and they both kind of like grew up with, and they both kind of like had in their lives, but then he was gone. I felt like that made sense in terms of like the loneliness. It's like obviously he was gone before he was really gone, and that's why I wanted to kind of do it like that, not really show the dad. Mm-hmm. And that's why I didn't show the mom either, because I perceived it as the mom left a long time ago, and the mom just was a terrible person, and Noah kind of took onto that, and like that's why he kind of left when he did. What's the word? I remember reading the script back, and I just think to myself, should I explain what happened to the mom and the dad? And in my mind, I know what happened to the mom and the dad. The mom left when they were like 5, and she left. She led a life of drinking and whoring and all that sort of shit like that. And they didn't have a good childhood. And
maybe like a small reference, maybe like.
No, I mean, because
Dad's been here for us since Mom left when we were younger.
Because I mean, I think of it in the sense of, not a film not explaining anything is not a plot hole. And yeah. I don't know how many times I need to tell people this. A film not explaining something is not a plot hole. And I think of that every single time I write. I think to myself, should I explain this? But then it's like, oh, no, I don't have to. It doesn't make sense to explain it. It's just exposition. and it just makes the script a little bit more lengthy, and it just makes people start losing interest. And you know, I'm already on the very, very brink of that exposition kind of. Just it's pure exposition. My script, it's pure exposition. It's pure. The entire film is just them talking. It's not, nothing's really happening. It's not like, it's just them having a conversation and getting to the conclusion that Jimmy's not forgiving him. And that's the reason why I wrote it that way, because, you know, a lot of times in people's lives, you know, there's not an action scene every 5 minutes in a film, in life. You know, there's actual, you know,
human
like,
conversations.
Yeah, there's human conversations, and that's why I wrote it the way that I did. I wanted it to feel human. And I mean, it doesn't need to be explained. And that's the reason why I wrote it. I mean, I'm writing another script right now that involves like crime families and stuff like that. And you know, you don't need to explain the entirety of the crime family just because, you know, they're a part of them. You can just be like, you know, like Don Thomas or something like that is not happy with the deal from last week. And you don't need to explain the deal from last week entirely. You can just be like, the deal from last week, and then they're like, listen, man, the cocaine was bad, and you need to fix it. You don't need to be like, oh yeah, you know, we walked there, we found out that the cocaine was powder, and it was like it was terrible and all sort of stuff like that. And like, you don't need to explain every single little detail, and that's why I didn't explain the mom and the dad in the script. Obviously, I explained the dad. The dad was dying, and I had to address that, and that was kind of like the crux of the story.
Yeah.
Or the crutch of the story, not the crux.
The Horcrux.
The Horcrux. I just remember, you know, I just think of it in the sense of, you know, there's different paths that I could have taken, and I'm happy with the path that I took in terms of how I explained, you know, the situations going on in their lives. I don't need to explain everything, and that's why I did it the way that I did. I made sure that the dialogue was interesting. I made sure that the dialogue was engaging, that the arguments made sense. I made sure that the conversations were human. Obviously, some of the dialogue was a little awkward, but that was my first like script that I put to screen, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, I remember. I actually showed my mom and like a few other people in my family, and like once they started watching it, they were kind of like glued to the screen. Like I was like, "Oh, did you like that?" And they're just focused on what was happening. And then afterwards, I was like, "Hey, you good?" They're like, "Oh, I was watching that." I was like, "Yeah. Did you like it?" He was like, "I was very interested." And I was like, "I could tell because I was talking to you the whole time and you didn't even notice."
I'm glad that people are enjoying it. I mean, I know that. I mean, obviously, I don't expect this to be like a big project or anything like that. I expect this to be, you know, something that gets like 100 views on YouTube and then is thrown into the garbage like everything else on YouTube.
Damn, that's pretty harsh.
That's how I have to think of it. You know, if I don't think of it that way, then, you know, I start thinking of it in the sense of like, oh yeah, I can make this big and I can make this like my #1 film in the world, but it's not gonna be. And, you know, I'm gonna keep on working on my craft, and I'm just gonna keep on working at it, and then I'm gonna post another project, and then I'm gonna post another, and another, and another, and another, another
one. Another one.
Okay, we're done with the another ones. I mean, I don't know. I just think of it in the sense of, you know, there's a certain line that you have to kind of follow in terms of, you know, how you perceive your projects. And I like to perceive my projects as, you know, it's just, obviously I'm not going to get big. I mean, that sounds really fucked up on my part. I hope I get big. I hope I work in the field that I want to work in. I hope that one day I make a film that just ends up in a movie theater and people are able to watch it and enjoy it. I don't care if it's a box office success like fucking Avengers right now, who are almost #1 of all time. But I hope that it's like, you know, a film that people can enjoy, like, you know, like Baby Driver. Like Baby Driver, as much as people like really like the driving sequences and the action sequences, it's a very deep and amazing story in my opinion, and I really like that story. However, I also perceive it in the same way as I just watch it, and I just enjoy certain projects, and I want to be able to put a film in a movie theater and people enjoy it and say like, wow, it's a really in-depth, kind of film. And I really like people who, kind of acknowledge that, and people who kind of like work at that. And it's just something that I really enjoy. So, yeah. I mean, I just hope that, everybody who does watch the project really enjoys it. I know that my, sorry. I know that, my friend, who I won't reveal her name or his name, I know that he or she got me to talk to some people at Sundance, and then they also got me to talk to people at Netflix. I'm not going to say anything more than that because I don't want to push my luck. Because she has, I'm just going to say, she has contacts with people at the Sundance Film Festival. And she also has contacts with people at Netflix. And I'm hoping that, this kind of opens up an avenue for me of just like, I'm able to get contacts there and I'm able to start working for people like that. If I start working for people like that, bye. I mean, obviously I'll contact you if I do start working. I'm probably not going to work for them. But I mean,
if you do, it's an once in a lifetime type of opportunity.
Of course. And, I'll always have you as my DP.
I'd be the worst DP ever, bro.
You're just going to be like, It's like, oh yeah, by the way, Jerod, we're filming on a red. How much is away?
I swear to God, if I come into a set one day with you and you're like, hey, we're shooting on a red, I will shit myself right then and there.
Yeah. By the way, we can't afford a gimbal, but you have your Ronin, right?
I don't know if they can hold it. I need a Steadicam for that shit now.
Yeah. I was watching this one thing on YouTube where it's like this guy had a full-on bodysuit for just his camera. It was crazy. But going back to kind of like, me being depressing about, not being able to be in this good business. Look, I hope and I pray and I hope that I do end up in the industry. If, I don't expect to win an Oscar. I don't expect to get an award for my work. I expect to, make very, very minimal work in the industry, and then they'll be like, yeah, it's really good work, thank you. And then that's it. That's what I hope for.
So you don't want quantity, you want quality.
But then again, quality leads to, good work. I read something, or no, I didn't read something. I watched something with Matt Damon in it, ironically. And he goes, yeah, I won an Oscar at very, very young. And he goes, I won an Oscar very young, and I was looking at it that night. And I go, there are so many people who work their entire lives for these awards. They end up in like their 80s and they end up winning. And then he's glad that he got the Oscar out of his system, because he goes, once you win an Oscar, that's like the key point in like your career, technically. And he goes, yeah, I didn't want to be one of those people where I turn 88 and I win an Oscar and I go, what was it all for? I wasted my entire career just for basically a medal. And, I think about that every single time. I think about getting into the industry, and it's something that, do I want to win an Oscar? Fucking absolutely. But I'm not gonna, like, if I hit like the age of 40 and, I haven't gotten anywhere close to it, I'm not gonna try to. That's not gonna be my goal. I'm just gonna try to make good content and just make sure that people enjoy it. Make sure that people enjoy the movies that I want to show them. You know.
I mean, we're starting this at a pretty young age.
Yeah. I remember very clearly that, you know, it's something that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to this kid not too long ago. He's like a junior in high school right now. He talks to me and he says, like, yeah, you know, I have these ideas for movies and stuff like that, and I really want to work on them, and I really want to do them and all sorts of stuff like that. And I go, like, yeah, well, what's your idea? Yeah, and he goes, yeah, well, it's gonna star like Matt Damon and like Matthew Broderick and stuff like that. And I'm like, because I mean, look, he comes up with these ideas and he goes like, yeah, my movies are gonna be on the big screen, but you're making like YouTube content. And I'm like, I'm gonna throw a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at you because you're being ridiculous. Because you can't just, okay, I don't want to sound like this right now and then he ends up making it into the industry. I'm gonna sound like a fucking jackass, but you can't just think to yourself, you're gonna have a good idea and one day somebody's gonna walk up to you and be like, I want to make that idea a movie. That's not how the industry works. The industry works by hard work and dedication, and even then, it's purely about luck. Mm-hmm. There's literally, like, if you want a TV show, good luck. Because it's extremely difficult. I looked at the entire process of, like, you know, just talk shows getting made. Like, do you understand how much effort and time goes into making sure that a talk show still stays on the air? And there's like 15 of them on the air right now. There's like fucking Late Show, The Tonight Show, Conan, Ellen, stuff like that. Like all these different talk shows. And I'm just like, how do they keep these things up and running? And they go like, oh yeah, it's basically just advertising, making sure that everybody's watching our clips. And it's like, you see it on Facebook. You see every single one on Facebook, and it makes sense. Mm-hmm. It makes sense how they're able to stay on the air. All right, thank you for watching the Director's Chair podcast. If you like this video, you know what to do. Just follow us on Instagram at Media Retroactive and
at Gravity_Productions. Follow websites www.retroactivemedia.com and www.
The Retroactive Media.
The Retroactive Media and www.gravityproductions.com.
And if you want to give some input on the stuff that we've been doing, if you want to make some comments about our projects, comments about some of the things that we say on the podcast, if you want to do anything like that, just give us a quick email at the directorsharepodcast@gmail.com. Is that it?
Yeah.
And yeah, all that junk. Thank you very much, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
See ya.